Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing out there? I hope y'all are doing just wonderful, just fine, just peachy, just dandy. Now, you already know the deal. If you are familiar with the sofa, if you can hear me, drop a number one so I know that I'm not talking to myself. Pretty please and thank you. I really do appreciate it. And then we'll continue on talking. Now, the things I'm getting ready to say are to the dog, so just know that you'll get it. Yes. Yes. Good boys. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we got one. Hey, Chrissy, how's it going? Emily, how are you, my wonderful Emily? I hope you are fine. Welcome, Emily, to the sofa. She's a founding member. She's our wonderful moderator, one of a few. How are you? Hello, everybody. All right, so y'all can hear me. So, I hope y'all are doing well. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going over the Chloe Driver Trout. Now, what I mean by going over is we are going to, number one, watch the opening statements. I know that this is off the rails. We've talked about it. People have emailed me. I have not gone, like, started from the beginning, and this is one that I'm like, I have to start from the beginning, right? Because it's so crazy. Now, I'm going to say this. When I was getting the thing set up, hey, Jason Franklin, how's it going? When I was getting the live chat set up, like for the thing we're about to watch, and I watched, like, listen to the first 60 seconds, okay? I'm not gonna lie, I was ready to start crying, okay? This is a horrible case. It deals with a little baby. Trigger warning. If that is something that's too much for you, you're not gonna want to hang out. Just going ahead and letting you know. 100, it gives me goosebumps already in the first 60 seconds of what I heard, okay? So just know that, okay? It's not for the faint of heart. What the little I know about it is she was in some kind of cult, allegedly, and basically it's alleged that she killed her baby to get close to the husband. Now, obviously, the trial will tell us this. It is in deliberations at this point, so just know that, okay? So there's that. And that's kind of it. Not much has been going on. It's been crazy over here with work and puppies. So, light or no, before we get into it, love the puppies. Absolutely. They've been enjoying all the stuff y'all have sent. We're in terrible two zones up in here, okay? And right now they're in their cages because, good boy, they are off the hook. Come here, good boy. And Luke is literally driving myself and Bo up the walls. Okay, he doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. No off button on Luke. The house is destroyed. Okay, there's gates set up everywhere. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm very thankful and I love them. But it's like, I mean, you can tell. Look at my face. I'm like, huh? I'm so tired and worn out. But it's wonderful. So yeah, they're in their little crates next to me, so you might see me dealing with them along the way because we're still revved up to go, even though it's the very end of the day. Yeah. Hey John, how's it going? Stephanie says my son's name is Luke. So true, right? Is it a Luke thing? Seriously. Literally, I just my Google thing over here. This is what I typed in. I'm on Reddit on the other screen. Where's my thing? Hold on. Let me see what my search was. Yorkie puppy has insane. Just listen to myself. This is my Google search. Yorkie puppy has insane energy at 16 weeks old. Like in my world, I'm like, this is abnormal, okay? I'm like, this is not normal. This can't be right. This, no, okay? Like, something is wrong with the dog. Yorkie is completely broken at 16 weeks old. Please send help, okay? That's where we're at up in here. But that legit was a Google search. Insane energy at 16 weeks old. And there's several people responding, okay? So, hey, Northwest, thanks for being a member. All right, so there you go, sweetie. There's Bo, a little treat. Good boy. So what I'm trying to do is reward them for being like chill, right? So that's what I'm doing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over. We're gonna be streaming this from Court TV again. Wait, hold on. Let me start from the beginning. Again, just know it's rough, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here. Hey Tori, welcome Tori to the sofa. She's our other lovely moderator. I hope you're doing wonderful, Tori. I hope you're doing well. Tori, check your. Oh wait, there you go. is it Twitter? Okay, y'all, for those who are on Twitch, Tori is going to be doing a fun stream-a-thon, whatever you want to call it, hanging out all day on Twitch this Saturday. And I'm just reading your thing. If you want to tell me, it's Tori. I don't know how it's Neo N-I-O Fox on Twitch. Is that right? Tori, just say it in the comments correctly, but I'll remind y'all as it gets closer, whatever. I mean, it's Tuesday. But just hang out with Miss Tori. We love her. I might get to meet her in, January you're coming this way? Or we're meeting somewhere near each other or something like that, in Asheville or something like that. We'll end up in the same zone. So I'm excited. So I am going to stream over here. And that's what we're going to do, and we'll talk about. I might be stopping to talk and stuff like that because I'm watching this for the first time with y'all. Okay, I will put it on 1.25, and let me get my notes pulled up here because I want to make notes to do a video on it. And let me see. Okay, so I've got this and this and this. Okay. I said, here we go. I'm down with the flow. Yo, yo, yo. What do you know? Okay. Where are we at? Present. Share screen. Share screen. Opening statements. Is that it? Okay, yep. So share. And then we're going to come over here. We're going to make it like a big screen, right? Oh, scared me. Okay, hold on. Okay, y'all drop a one if you can hear her talking. I'm going to mute myself so you don't hear me breathing and going, yes, yes, good dog, okay?
That'd be good. Thank you.
This is Hannah Nicole Driver. On December 8th of 2020, she was 13 months old. This is not the way that you will see her in this trial. Instead, you will see her the way that first responding officers saw her, the way that the EMTs saw her, the way that the ER doctors saw her, and eventually the way that the medical examiner saw her. You will see this 13-month-old beautiful baby girl who had been brutally murdered by her mother, stabbed repeatedly until every bit of life drained out of her, and she died. But I wanted to start with a picture of what Hannah Nicole Driver was like before that happened. You're going to hear that Chloe Driver was her mother, and Chloe Driver was involved in an alternative lifestyle. You're going to hear, as the week goes on, a lot of distracting evidence. You're going to hear a lot of messy evidence about this group, about their belief systems. You're going to hear a lot of things that take the focus off of Hannah Nicole Driver. And I wanted to start with this photo because what your role is in this case, and what your decision is in this case, is what happened to Hannah. And what the laws are governing the death of Hannah. And what your decision is with regard to the murder of Hannah. But you will be confronted this week with a lot of shiny objects, a lot of dramatic, crazy evidence about these people and their viewpoints and their belief systems and their practices. You're going to hear that Chloe Driver was one of 3 wives of a man named Brian Joyce. All of them had alternative religious names that they assigned to each other. Brian Joyce also went by the name Benjamin Ben Michael. Some people call.
Did y'all catch what his last name was? Ryan what?
Z. Chloe Driver went by the name Kuwani. Hannah, the baby, they called Nimsi. The other 2 wives, Jessica and Sarah, they had other religious names as well. But the evidence will be that that group, that core group of 3 wives and the husband, Benjamin, that of the 3 wives in 2020, Chloe had been with Benjamin the longest. Of the 3 wives, she was the longest surviving wife of that group. And then after her came Jessica, who had been in the group for about 2 years. Chloe had been with him for about 3 years. And then Sarah came last. She had been with him for less than a year. But they all lived together as a family. Chloe had a baby, Hannah, with Benjamin. And so it was Benjamin, the 3 wives, and the baby. You'll also hear the evidence that there was another individual that spent a lot of time with them, traveled with them, participated in a lot of their same belief systems. His name's Jason Spillers. You'll see him in this case and hear evidence from him as well. So the belief system. What you will hear is that they had very sort of radical views. They were strict vegans. They only drank purified water. They did not believe in any type of drugs or alcohol, no modern medicine. Hannah never had a birth certificate or went to the doctor. You'll hear that they participated in alternative healing practices like drinking their own urine, sensory deprivation, meditation, that they did not believe in modern medicine. You will hear that they collectively as a group engaged in this sort of thought process that they had a higher consciousness than the rest of the world, that they were called upon to challenge the realities of sort of the traditional worldview. And that was something that they all leaned into and felt pride in. And it was collective as the group. They were all like-minded in that way. Now, you're also going to hear that they were pretty nomadic, that they didn't have strong roots anywhere, that they traveled around a lot, that they bounced from place to place, spent time in different locations. None of them are from Cherokee County. It was a sheer coincidence that this act happened in our jurisdiction. I'll get into that. On December the 8th of 2020, they were traveling from North Carolina down to Florida. Benjamin, the husband, had previously lived in a residence at 215 Mountain Vista Boulevard.
Did y'all hear that? From North Carolina to Florida? Let's just direct my home state up in here. Okay, let's just say that.
Canton, Georgia, with a man by the name of Gerald Ablin. Gerald Ablin still lived in that residence on December the 8th of 2020, and so in their travels, Benjamin, Jason Spillers, and 3 wives, Sarah, Jessica, Chloe, and the baby, Hannah, were all caravanning from North Carolina down to Florida in 4 different vehicles, a U-Haul and 3 cars, and they were planning to move down to Florida. And they stopped at Jerry Adlin's house in Canton, Georgia, 3 miles from this courthouse, because Benjamin had stuff in Jerry's basement. And so the plan was for Jason and Benjamin to load up the stuff that was in Jerry's basement into the U-Haul and to get back on the road and head to Florida. What happened was, when they got there, 2 of the wives, Sarah and Jessica, went to one of the upstairs bedrooms to take a nap. And Hannah and Chloe went to another upstairs bedroom to take a nap. Gerald Ablin, the homeowner, worked from home. He's a software engineer. So he was on a Zoom call working, and the women and the baby went to the room so they didn't disturb them. And Jason Spillers and Benjamin went to work moving the things out of the basement into the U-Haul. It was supposed to be a seemingly short stopover, and then they would all get back on the road. And when they were done, and it was time to leave, something happened. This is the residence. You'll hear that when Jason and Benjamin were distracted, moving things out of the basement, Chloe Driver, at some point, went down to the kitchen, got a knife out of the knife block, returned to the room with Hannah, locked the door behind her, and repeatedly stabbed Hannah to death with this knife. She then took the knife and stabbed herself in the neck. This is where Hannah Driver bled to death. You'll hear that Jason and Benjamin were out in the driveway. They were getting ready to go. Sarah and Jessica had come down. They were in the driveway getting ready to go. And Benjamin went upstairs to get Chloe and the baby. And the door was locked. And he heard noises. And he panicked. And he kicked the door down. And he found the scene of his 13-month-old daughter bleeding to death on the bed, and Chloe on the ground with a knife wound to her neck as well. You'll see evidence of him kicking in the door. And you'll hear the witnesses who said they heard the most blood-curdling scream from him. What did you do? What did you do? You will see the body cam footage of the first responders on the scene who rushed in to try to save the baby and Chloe Driver. And what you will see is Benjamin with his hands on Hannah's neck trying to keep her from bleeding to death, and Jason Spillers, the other man that's a part of this group, with his hands on Chloe's neck trying to save her life. You will see these men were in shock. They were desperately trying to help. And you will see the response of first responders, EMTs, and everybody who did everything they could for Hannah and Chloe. You will hear that Hannah died, that she had 4 stab wounds. One of them was a 1.5-inch deep stab wound to her back. The other wounds were 3 stab wounds to the neck, one of which was so deep that it went all the way through her tiny neck transected her carotid artery and hit her vertebrae. You are going to hear a lot of evidence about Benjamin, and I don't particularly expect you to like him. I expect you are going to hear that they're not from Cherokee County. But what I want you to remember in this trial is that their belief system and practices are not on trial. We only have jurisdiction over crimes that happened in Cherokee County. And what the evidence will be is that the only crime that happened in Cherokee County was a crime that was committed by Chloe Driver. The evidence will show that the only act committed by Benjamin in Cherokee County was the desperate act to save his baby daughter. And you will see it. Now, the state has the burden of proving that she murdered Hannah and that she intended Hannah's death. And that will be very, very clear from the evidence. The defense is raising the issue of insanity and going to ask you to find her not guilty by reason of insanity. And that is their burden to prove. There is a legal definition of what insanity is, and opening statements are not necessarily the appropriate time for us to get into what the law is and how you apply the law. That will be something that comes at the end of this trial. But what opening statements are for is to give you a roadmap, to help you focus on the important issues and to help you know what to look for when the evidence is coming before you. And so in that regard, the things that I can appropriately tell you is you're going to hear a lot of things in this case about throwing witnesses and evidence, throwing around terms like crazy, mentally ill, insane. And you, as human beings that know the English language, probably use all of those terms kind of interchangeably. But the truth is the law has definitions for things, and they are not the same. So what I would like for you to pay attention to in the presentation of evidence in this case is the evidence that she understood the wrongfulness of her actions, that she understood the difference between wrong and right. And there will be plenty of evidence presented to you that she did. One of those pieces of evidence is when she was sitting in the hospital bed, one of the first things that she wrote to law enforcement, because she could not speak because she had a trach, was, "How long will my prison sentence be for killing her?" This is the evidence that will come before you that demonstrates that she understood the wrongfulness of her actions. Pay attention. She locked the door. She waited until she was isolated. Those are pieces of evidence that will come before you that are important. The next thing I would like you to pay attention to in the presentation of evidence is why she killed Hannah. There will be evidence about why she killed Hannah. Pay very, very close attention to what motivated her actions. He didn't do it, I did it. I was going insane and no longer wanted to be with his friends, but kept coming back for him. I only wanted my baby and husband, but he refused. The evidence will be she wanted him. She wanted to be with him. She was the first of this group of 3 wives, and the 2 others came after her. The evidence will be clear that she wanted to be with him, and he was never going to give up this polygamous cult lifestyle that they had adopted. This was one of the first writings that she made about why she killed Hannah. Pay attention to the why. Her cell phone was searched, and you'll see evidence of that. She searched killing somebody to save them. Also, a couple of weeks before she killed Hannah, she searched how to snap a neck. The evidence is going to be she was evaluated in the hospital by a psychiatrist shortly after she killed Hannah, and he indicated the patient felt the only way out was to kill her daughter and herself. I couldn't handle being with the group anymore, and he left no alternative with certain threats. This was her note that she wrote to Benjamin. She wanted him and the baby, and she wanted everybody else to go. And that wasn't an option, so she picked a different one. There is going to be evidence in this case that she believed some things that were pretty crazy. And there's that word again, crazy. It doesn't have a legal definition. You're going to be focused more on mental illness and insanity in making your determination. But just in the English language context, there's going to be evidence that comes before you that sounds insane. There's going to be evidence that she believed things that the rest of the group believed too. That the world is fake, that we're living in hell, that they have the ability to, with their minds, control the actions of other people around them. These things were not unique to Chloe Driver. The entire group believed that this higher level of consciousness was something that they were called upon to do, to serve the world. And so what I ask you to do when you are assessing these things is, there may be a question about whether these are delusions or whether these are just genuinely held religious views that maybe are untraditional that the rest of the world doesn't agree with. And that's something that you're going to have to parse out. But here's the thing that is very, very clear and will be very important to your determination in this case. None of these bizarre views had anything to do with Hannah. That is of critical importance. I started with a picture of Hannah, and I'm going back to it, because when we talk about the issue of insanity that will be raised in this case, you have to focus on how her belief system, her mind, her thoughts, how those things related to Hannah, her feelings about Hannah, the reason she committed the act against Hannah. You cannot just say she has crazy beliefs without considering Hannah. So in this case, what you will hear and what the evidence will show is not a single witness, not a single doctor that evaluated her, not a single statement Chloe Driver has ever made was that Hannah believed, or she believed Hannah was any kind of a threat to her. There will be no evidence of that. You will not hear that she was ever afraid of Hannah. You will not hear that she ever felt like she needed to defend herself against Hannah. And how she felt about Hannah in her mind and in her actions and informing her intent is something that you need to pay attention to in this case. It will help you solve the legal equation. Whether she had delusions or not is a teeny tiny part of the legal equation you will solve. The evidence that will come before you is none of that stuff related to the reasons why she committed this act against Hannah or her beliefs about Hannah, the baby, the victim in this case. You are going to have to evaluate the evidence that comes before you about whether any of her belief systems were manifestations of mental illness and how that related to the act that she committed. And what the evidence is going to be is that any manifestations of mental illness were completely separate from the motivations for why she killed Hannah. The evidence is going to be that her motivation for why she killed Hannah wasn't her delusions, it was her reality. The evidence is going to be that she couldn't decide if she wanted to stay or go, so she picked a third option. And the evidence is going to show that that wasn't delusional at all. That was very reasonable thinking based upon the situation she willfully put herself in. I suspect in this case there is going to be a lot of effort to paint Chloe Driver as the victim instead of this baby girl. You are going to hear that she was held against her will, she didn't feel like she was free to leave, but the evidence is going to demonstrate that that is not true. The evidence is going to demonstrate that as she sat there and stabbed Hannah to death, she had a diaper bag with her personal effects in it, and inside that diaper bag was a cell phone, $1,000 cash, blank checks in the name of Chloe Alexis Driver that connected to a bank account in the name of Chloe Alexis Driver that had $65,000 in it. She had the means to leave. The evidence is going to be she didn't want to. She wanted him. She had supportive parents who she had seen the day before she murdered Hannah. And instead, she chose to go with the group. That is what the evidence is going to be. The evidence will not be that she was held against her will. The evidence will be that she exercised her free will in wanting to be with Benjamin. The evidence will be that at every opportunity, she took the opportunity to maintain her relationship with him, even after she murdered Hannah. The evidence will be that she wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Even after she was arrested and charged with murder, the evidence that will come before you is that she was simultaneously talking to doctors, speaking to lawyers, evaluating her options for a defense in this case, telling them that she was an oppressed victim of this religious cult to shirk responsibility for her criminal actions and placing the blame on Benjamin, saying all those things to the doctors and professionals that were evaluating her, while simultaneously continuing to maintain conversations with him, continuing to maintain a relationship with him, making hundreds of phone calls to him and telling him how much she loved him. Phone calls that she placed out. He could not call her. The evidence will not be that she could not exercise free will. The evidence will be that she wanted to be with him. What you are going to hear is probably that this cult lifestyle wasn't great for her mental health. But that is not the issue before you in this case. The evidence is going to be that Chloe Driver was swimming in the pond she jumped in. And she did it willfully. It was the air that she breathed. And she chose that even after she took the life of Hannah Nicole Driver. You will not hear that she was deprived of free will. You will see that she exercised her free will. And the person that suffered the consequences of her choices was Hannah, not Chloe. The evidence will be clear. that Chloe murdered Hannah. She did it willfully, she did it intentionally, and she wanted her to die. The evidence will also demonstrate, maybe, that Chloe was a weak-minded person who was particularly susceptible to the cult lifestyle, but that is not the issue before you. The evidence will not demonstrate that she meets the definition of criminal insanity to the extent that she cannot be held responsible for her actions. And once all of the evidence has come before you, and all of the witnesses have been questioned, I'm going to ask you to hold her responsible for the consequences that this child suffered from her choices and her decisions. And I'm going to ask you to find her guilty.
Y'all, let me pick my mouth up off the. What did we just watch? I see why everybody's been emailing me about this and glued to it. Side note, Bo's out of. He just wanted to say, hey, everybody. Yo, this is horrifying. I'm speechless. I don't, I mean, so this is one thing. So right off the rip, and again, if you're just joining, like literally, you know as much about this case as I do at this point, right? Take him. Hold on. Let me get them situated. So, number one, I just saw somebody say that the jury's the jury's coming back tomorrow morning to continue deliberating. Very curious to see how they're outline the insanity defense and if it, I mean, for those who've been watching it, do you think that she could get off on insanity on this? I mean, like, where are we at, right? Because the whole thing, $65,000 in the bank? I mean, how, right? It's only seen about an hour. I've only seen, okay, I've watched the whole third. It's crazy. Nope, I do not insane. Okay, I'm not sure this case is nuts. He, bond these, trauma bond these, when to tell them. I think she could. It's just it, but I would not give it. I would say no. She will be guilty, but insane. Okay, I think she'll get off. See if it was from fraudulent PPP loan. They've been coming after those fraudulent PPP loans. Have y'all been following that on TikTok? I mean, if it wasn't this, it was going to be that, right? I mean, my God, $65,000. I'm speechless over that too, just alone. From the COVID loans. That's right. It was 2020. She doesn't. Let me see this. And I mean, granted, this is years later, whatever. Just looking at her there, she looks unwell. And what I mean by that is, like, I'll say this. Think about these people in your mind. Like, there's different versions of they look unwell. Okay. I'm trying to think of who. I just had. Okay, what's her name? The Shamani. Shabusiness. You can look at Shabusiness and you can tell she's unwell. If you grasp what I'm saying. Versus, you can look at Jodi Arias and tell the eyes are giving something, but it's not the same unwell as like Taylor Shabusiness. You see what I'm saying? Like, or like this girl. It's like a different, there's like a different thing going on there. Again, Shamani or whatever, right? I forget what her name is. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different unwell, okay? Who's another one? Sherry Papini. There's something going on there, but it's not the same. Something's going on with this girl right here. Yeah, Shabiz wrote the book on it, okay? Now, I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to say, oh, she looks unwell, let her walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't even watched it, right? But I'm just saying, like, there's something up with this young lady. Great Jody. And I think I need one more. They have her. It's like looking like this. Oh, that she reminds me of an assignment. She definitely should not walk. Okay, so now, so for those just joining, we just watched the state. Now let's listen to what the defense has to say. And now, one thing, just so y'all know, I'm just making notes on my phone right here, so that when I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, the video is Taylor Swift attacking her lawyer. Can you imagine how scary that would be? Boys, are we gonna be okay with each other? We chill? Yes, good boys. Okay, here we go. So please consider playing Jason on the stand. Trillium. Okay, Jason, that was the friend they stopped at in Georgia. Is that right? Oh, she's on meds. Oh, I bet heavy side. Okay, maybe that's the vibe I'm getting. Oh, Tabitha says that was good. Okay, well, it went away, but Tabitha said something interesting. Hold on. Nope, we don't chew daddy's headphones up. That's what, y'all, it's a vibe over here with the dogs. Okay, I'm telling you. Okay, we are literally into everything. Okay, here, come here. Come here. Let's settle down. Why don't we go in for a long winter's nap? We just had some treats, nice and snuggly. Yeah. Okay, let me catch up with you. So Tabitha said you might be noticing personality disorder, Jody A versus organic mental illness. Okay, yeah, that's an excellent point. Okay, let me come down here and catch up with y'all. Letitia Stalk was given the same kind of vibe. And y'all tell me what you think. To me, Letitia Stalk was giving Taylor Swift, right? Oh, Boho's in here. Y'all, hold on, where's your name go? Y'all, Boho Hobo. Y'all, if you can't check her channel out, I don't know if it's correct thing. If this, I don't remember Boho if there's shows on there. She does music videos and stuff. Immediately for palette cleanser, like leaving something serious like this right here. Absolutely go check her channel out for her Sarah Boone stuff. I was screaming earlier, y'all, screaming at the top of my lungs. It was so amazing. Oh, wait, Dr. Barry's analyzing this case. Oh God. Oh God, yes. Hey, Victoria. Okay, so let's go and listen to the defense now. Let me find it. Where'd y'all go? Here you are.
All right, Mr. Hathaway.
Good morning. I want to make one thing abundantly clear from the outset of this case, and that no one in this courtroom is going to stand here and dispute that the murder of a child is a horrific event. This is a tragic and heartbreaking case. There's simply no other way to explain it. There's no rational way to explain that. There is no dispute as to the facts regarding the events that occurred on December 8th of 2020 at 215 Mountain Vista Boulevard here in Canton. Ms. Driver does not dispute that she killed her 13-month-old baby daughter, Hannah Nicole Driver. There is also no dispute that at the same time, Ms. Driver stabbed herself repeatedly in the neck, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times, and then took the knife to her chest. There is no doubt that the evidence in this case and the testimony you're going to hear by the state of the defendant will not only be difficult to see and hear, but as we go through this trial, the only issue in this case that you need to decide is Ms. Driver's mental status and mental state at the time of the crime. Solely focus as we sit here and present all of this evidence about what happened that day, and the state does that, on her mental health. We are not standing here saying that Hannah Nicole Driver is not a victim. That is not the position taken by anybody in this case. Our job is to simply show you how we got here today, and that the law allows you to consider her mental state at the time of the crime. I'm going to give you a little bit more background information about the people involved in this case so you have some sort of context. Today, our client, Chloe, she's 24 years old. She grew up in Florida and in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. Her parents are Eric and Renee Driver. She is one of 3 children, the youngest and only daughter. Ms. Driver did have her ups and downs and bouts with teenage angst, and she, like most teenagers, thought she was ready for the world and knew best at the age of 16. She left home, she left school. She had her first fateful meeting with Ben Michael when she was 16 years old at a bus station in Atlanta. Several months after breaking up with her boyfriend, she had just turned 17, she met up with Ben again. He was 38 years old. See, I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. Ben Michael. He's not this great character that the state intends to put up here. Not at all. He spends his free time setting up Christian trusts in the name of religion and his wacky beliefs. You will hear that some of these trusts include contracts that he made with his so-called wives. I'm not even going to attempt to try to explain what these trusts are, because quite frankly, we really don't understand what their thought process is involved in that, and I'm sure Mr. Stillers would love to tell you all about it.
Okay, wait, y'all, time out. Craig, help me out here. So she's saying, I want to make sure I got this right. She's saying Chloe basically runs away from home at age 16, right? Meets up with this dude at a bus stop in Atlanta. They kind of have an interaction. They go their separate ways. She breaks up with said boyfriend at age 17 or whatever, and then meets back up with this dude, and he's 38 years old. So the 38-year-old is the man with the 3 wives. Is that right? So she was 17, he was 38, and this is the dude that's the father of Hannah? At a bus stop, okay. The bus stop is where all the... I know, right? Okay, so this adds a whole other layer to this. Okay, so hold on now. Okay, so let me make sure I got my notes right too. Okay, so bus stop. He's 38 time. She's 17. Okay. So this dude's 38 years old. He has 3 wives, and she is the one who gets with them first. Okay, for whatever reason, I'm not saying this makes it better, okay? In my world, when they were describing this before we got to this part, I thought they were all in the same vicinity of the same age, right? Again, I'm not saying this change. What this changes is like the context a little bit for me. I'm like, oh, she had some stuff going on. This dude's 38 and doing this. Okay, right. So we're gonna tuck that away. Just keep on going. Okay, here we go.
You will hear that he had 3 wives at this time. He had Jessica, he had Chloe, he had Sarah. He actually knew Jessica prior to ever meeting Chloe. But Chloe was his first wife, and Jessica came back into the picture at a later time because she had money. She had some money stashed away, and Mr. Ben Michael knew that. Sarah Stiles did come along longer. She wasn't involved in this group until after Chloe had had her baby. See, he creates contracts with each one of these women and calls them his wives in trust. You will also hear evidence that Benjamin had, not only Chloe, but these other wives, filed during COVID for the fraudulent EIDL loan money through the Small Business Administration. He had each one of them apply for these under his Alorian Christian.
I'm sorry, I have to pause again. This is like pissing me off at this point. Of course, he's going to let Jessica come back. She's got the cash, right? Please tell me, now I'm not saying this makes it better, the fact that he's getting them to file for the PPP loans, did he file for one too, or was it just them? Like, this is insane. This is insane. How did he... Well, again, okay, so you know what? Remember how, like, and again, I'm not saying that this is like, okay, well, whatever. But you know how when you start unlayering the Charles Manson stuff and all the girls that he had, like, following, they all had this, like, really broken situation, and he knew how to, like, go zoom and, like, really focus in on that brokenness and exploit it in these people. This is what this is giving. Each person did, okay. And again, I'm not saying that it makes it better, whatever, but the fact, it's like, I could see him being like, well, you girls do all the crimes. I can't do it over here because of this, but, you know, I'm going to get y'all to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's 100% what this dude sounds like already. She was the only one that was approved. Please tell me, are they charging her with that too? Yeah, Boho said, hey, Boho says JP did that exact thing to Micah. Yep. Hold on, let me just fill this out. Okay, here we go.
Trust or other pseudo trusts that he called a 501c3, a 508c something under the organization of spirituality and teaching. You will hear that they were able to get $150,000 fraudulently. That's the money sitting in the Wells Fargo account. They traveled all around the eastern United States. Sometimes they were together, sometimes they were not, depending on where he wanted each of these women. They definitely lived what we would consider an alternative lifestyle. This lifestyle didn't involve the things that you and I would normally think would be a partnership or a relationship, or the type of rules that we would necessarily agree with. There were rules of what to eat, what to wear, who they could talk to, when she would have access to her cell phone, when she'd be able to speak to her parents. Same rules applied to all three women. It was a constant indoctrination of an alternative ideology belief system to an already vulnerable young lady, a 17, 18, and 19-year-old woman with a 38, 39, and 40-year-old man. He did assign his wives each alternative name. She'll hear in these calls and interviews they'll refer to her as Kalani. Chloe, initially, was all in this relationship. She really didn't know any better. She was shocked and awed by his personality. She was young and she was vulnerable. She became alienated from her friends and her family, and she did. She followed his teachings and belief system. He also manipulated her mind to the extent about her own belief system, about her own parents. Repeatedly telling her he couldn't trust, that she could not trust her parents and that they may have done horrible things to her as a child. She couldn't and did not realize that this was essentially a cult environment. Around April of 2020, Benjamin met Jason Spillers, and they immediately became friends. He became fascinated with his trust system, the idea of having multiple women involved, quickly realized that they shared similar beliefs. To this day, they remain very close to each other. Mr. Spillers traveled around as well from place to place and was in a group on several different occasions with them, leading up to December 8th. When he was not with Benjamin or this group, he remained in constant contact via phone, text, or other means. Mr. Spillers saw Chloe in May of 2020. We'll describe her as a loving, caring mom. No issues, no signs of mental illness. In September of 2020, he noted that her mental state had deteriorated and became concerned. We even spoke to Brian about it. There were discussions about her needing treatment and medication. But see, Mr. Ben Michael doesn't agree with pharmaceuticals. He doesn't believe with white coat intervention, as he calls it. He was not going to let her put any medication in her body because she was breastfeeding, and she needed to be pure. He also believed that he could self-diagnose and self-treat Chloe on his own. Now, there were several red flags and calls for help leading up to this event, and the state didn't tell you about it, but I'm going to. Several people who claim to love Chloe and care about her are the same people who refused to get her the help she desperately needed and asked for. Benjamin, his other wives, Jason Spillers, Chloe's own parents. They either all chose not to help her and ignored her cries for help, or they just could not break through to her in those fateful months and get her that help she so desperately needed and that she asked for. The responses to her erratic behavior, her expressions of the thoughts that were in her mind to these people were ignored. Rather, in September of 2020, instead of getting her actual mental help, Benjamin convinced her to start taking CBD to help regulate herself and calm her down. You will hear testimony that they continued to feed her this CBD from Mr. Spillers that not only increased the erratic behavior, but led to an increase in her delusions and the continued degradation of her condition. There were two significant incidents that I want you to think about through this trial that show a continued decline of her mental health leading up to this and the lack of help for her deteriorating mental state. On November 25th, 2020, this group was in Asheville, North Carolina. Chloe Driver ran out of an apartment through an apartment complex parking lot into oncoming traffic to escape this group. She was having a major mental health crisis episode. During that time, she was begging strangers to help her get away from him and get help. She was yelling, she was crazy. I expect you to hear from a lady named Sandra Torres. She's a completely independent witness. Doesn't know Benjamin, doesn't know Jason, doesn't know Chloe, who saw this young lady on that day in the middle of the road, crying and asking for help, being chased by Jason Spillers. She sees him pick her up and drag her back into that apartment. She calls 911. And what is the result of her help? She was hit by a car that Benjamin was driving and punched in the eye by Jason Spillers. He broke her eye socket. She will tell you that Chloe was begging for help, begging to call the police, begging them to call her parents to help. These men put Chloe in a car, put Hannah in a car, and drove away before the police could ever respond. There are police reports about this. You will hear that the next day, Thanksgiving of 2020, November 26th, that Chloe had access to her cell phone. She contacted her parents to please come and get her in Asheville, North Carolina with Hannah and help her get away. That Brian was hurting her, she was afraid, she needed help. Her parents immediately got in the car and started to make that 2-hour drive to Asheville. Benyana went through her phone, found out that they were coming, and the result was he took the child before her parents or the police could get there. Took the child away from Chloe and kept her away from her child for over 2.5 days. Police reported about that too. When her parents picked her up that day, Miss Driver had a black eye, the remnants of a healing black eye. It's documented in a police report as well. Chloe went with her parents. She was distraught. She was upset. She was afraid that she was never going to see her daughter again. He kept her away from the baby. Expect you to see the Facebook messages and text messages exchanged between the two that indicate the manipulation of games he played with Chloe that day and over the course of those 2 days to get her child back. She was even more distraught because she was still breastfeeding her daughter. That was the first time that her parents had ever learned about what was going on with Chloe, both with their mental status and the relationship. Her parents were desperate to intervene. They helped her try to figure out how to get her own bank account, how to obtain Hannah's birth certificate, because the baby, they left the hospital shortly after she was born because Mr. Ben Michael didn't want her in the system and was afraid that DFACS was going to be called. They left without a birth certificate. She feared that they would never see her daughter again. I expect you'll see a video that was taken on November 27th of 2020 with Miss Driver. That video was taken prior to Miss Driver getting in an Uber that Mr. Ben Michael sent for her to bring her back to her child. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't know what was going to happen to her. She didn't actually know she was being brought to her daughter. You will see the choice and the agony in Miss Driver's voice that she had to go back to get her daughter. She feared never seeing her again. You will hear evidence, and the state's already touched on it, about evidence about searches. Miss Driver did search for other things other than how to snap a neck. She did searches that were trying to, how to find a bus ticket for a 13-month-old, how do I travel with a child I don't have a birth certificate to. There are also indications that she was understanding that she was experiencing some crazy things in her mind. She searched for schizophrenia. She searched for other ways to get mental help. Things that she was being denied. And things spiraled from there. On December 7th, 2020, the group took Chloe back to her parents' house to get the last of her belongings. They begged her to stay there with Hannah. They couldn't convince her to stay, and her parents thought about calling the police. But they also realized that that might mean that they may never see their daughter or granddaughter again. And they are still living with that guilt today. The group then left and spent the night in a hotel room. The morning of the 8th, they attended a ceremony called the 12 Tribes. They then traveled towards Canton, Georgia. I expect that Mr. Spillers will tell you about a weird incident where Chloe appeared to be hallucinating or having something going on while they were at Whole Foods on the way down here. They did stop at Mr. Adlin's house to pick up some belongings that belonged to Benyana. Chloe was in Canton for less than 3 hours that day. Throughout this case, you will hear evidence that everyone around her said Chloe wholeheartedly and loved and cared for her child. You will hear evidence that she was a loving and doting mother, that she tended to all of Hannah's needs, that baby barely ever cried because of the love and attention that you will hear that Chloe considered her an extension of herself, a huge piece of her, had a connection to her, that everything she did for her daughter was because she was an incredible mother. And I'm going to show you some pictures, put this kind of in context for you guys, so that you can see the physical changes involved in Chloe's life during this time. These pictures do not dispute a change in her physically and show a change in her mentally. This is Chloe when she was 16 years old, before she met Benyana and Michael. This is Chloe with Hannah on July 12th, 2020. Pride and joy. August 29th, 2020. Again, showing how prideful she is of her daughter. November 2020. November 27th, 2020. It's another angle from November 27th. Now, the state has charged Chloe with killing Hannah with malice and cruel intentions, and along with other counts set forth in the indictment. The evidence in this case, contrary to what the state is saying, is clear and overwhelming. The state doesn't want you to consider Chloe a victim of Benjamin or Jason Spiller. We're not even standing here saying that that is a full piece of what happened. We're not blaming Jason, we're not blaming Benjamin, we're not blaming Hannah. But what it is a bigger piece of this puzzle about Chloe's severe and untreated mental illnesses that she suffered in the months leading up to December 8th. You will also hear testimony that she did have these delusions, that she seemed paranoid, that she reported seeing signs of things that to you and I wouldn't be read that way. That that's all part of mental illness. We are not here to dispute what happened to Hannah. It is truly horrific. It is something that this driver thinks about every single day. You will hear evidence from witnesses who were with her leading up to this that contradict every aspect that on December 8th of 2020 that Chloe was in any right state of mind at all. You will hear testimony from those individuals who witnessed her day-to-day mental health breakdowns and delusions themselves. You will also hear testimony about how this investigation by the Canton Police Department was conducted from the very beginning as it related to her severe mental illness and her delusions. Ms. Driver was evaluated by several experts in this case, which will be presented to you in this case, including one from the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health. We expect that the evidence will show that every expert that comes before you will say that she was severely mentally ill, that she was delusional, and will offer diagnoses of specific mental health disorders. You will hear from experts that will tell you that she was suffering from these severe mental disturbances, paranoia, and psychosis on December 8th, and in the months leading up to the tragic event. They will tell you that they based their information on information they received from the state, from the defense, and from other collateral third parties. They will also tell you that the participation in this group, while initially may have been voluntary, turned into one of an involuntary nature from a psychological perspective. The state is aiming to present this case in such a deliberate manner aimed at eliciting raw emotional responses to what happened. That's it. They want you to ignore the elephant in the room, which is the mental health, which is a huge piece of this puzzle. Despite those initial reactions, we are asking you to think about this. Mothers just do not kill their kids. Ask yourself, what drives someone to do something like this to their baby and to themselves? What drives someone to do something like this who by all reports loved and cared for Hannah in the most amazing way? Listen to the evidence that is presented about what she experienced in this relationship with Benjamin and what delusions compelled her to this tragic event. Listen to what people say about her ability to know what she was doing, living minute to minute, how she'd be fine one minute, the next thing they would describe her as erratic and crazy. There is absolutely no motive in this case for her to kill her daughter. There is no other reason for her to have killed Hannah but for her psychotic symptoms and delusions that she was under on December 8th of 2020. You'll hear that from experts, but you'll hear that from the witnesses too. This is the only explanation as to what happened, and the only reason that would be supported by the evidence in this case. We believe that the evidence in this case will clearly lead you to a conclusion that at the end of this case, that she's not guilty by reason of insanity. And that still, because it's provided by law, is a way to hold her responsible for these actions. We expect that that's what the evidence will show, and that will be what we will be asking for you at the end of this case. Thank you.
I'm speechless. Okay, we need to know this before we keep going. Where is Benjamin? Please tell me he is behind bars. This is insane. Does anybody know that's been watching it from the beginning to end? Is the man behind bars? Now you saw that first picture. He is roaming. Oh my God. Oh, not charged with how? At the minimum of the PPP thing, right? Maybe they'll get him on the PPP thing. Okay, sorry. Um, yeah, Susan Smithing is tomorrow. Yes, I know. Um, pardon me. You saw the picture that they showed of her, like, is it like a teenager or whatever? And then, you know what I'm saying? It was like progressed. You can just look at her there sitting, right? Okay, now hold on. Let me go to the next thing here. Please hold. Lord have mercy. Please hold. Okay, where are we at? I'm trying to find.
Welcome back. You're watching Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, and we are going back into a Georgia courtroom where a woman is standing trial for the death of her 13.
Okay, great. And can you say it your full name?
Jason Allen Spillers.
Of the one that she was married to, along with two.
Okay, so I'm just sitting here looking at this, y'all. So the Jason thing. Does anybody know what day Jason testified on? Jason lady punched the lady who tried to help. Is that what the punch to the Good Samaritan thing was? Does anybody know what day Jason testified on? The third, second, Wednesday, second. Okay, I got a couple of seconds. Okay, then we're gonna go to day 2. So hold on for a second. Oh, yep, day 2. Okay, please hold. Most replayed, it goes back to Jason. So hold on, let me make a note here. Okay, then I'm gonna come to y'all. Okay, where's present? Present. Okay, so we're gonna watch Jason. He's gonna come on in a second. Let's hear what Jason has to say.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I promise that I will be honest with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, Do you have
Immediately already, he's
that makes
crazy.
sense, sir?
Immediately already, he's crazy. That first thing right there, he said, immediately done. Immediately done. Jason is like a wannabe from what I understand, right? Like he saw the Benjamin and how Benjamin was like running this whole situation. And so Jason was like the ultimate beta, right? Okay, let's just call it what it is, okay? The ultimate beta. Okay, he was like, wow, here's this beta dude. He's got this whole cult thing going. I want to be like him, but I can't even do that. You see what I'm saying? Immediately, I could already tell you that from the first few sentences out of his damn mouth. Oh my God. Okay, so here we go.
Okay. Can you affirm that you will be honest and tell the truth today?
I just told you that I would be, and I will be. I will be completely honest and transparent in regards to the matter which we're here today.
Okay.
And my experience with this circumstance.
Okay, great. And can you state your full name?
Jason Allen Spillers,
All right. How old are you, Mr. Spillers?
36.
All right. And you're wearing orange.
Yeah.
Are you in custody at this time?
Not in Cherokee County.
Okay. Do you have pending charges somewhere else?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And does it have anything to do with this case?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking you that is, have we made any kind of deals with you or discussed your charges with you in any way?
Actually, you made it very clear that you're uninterested in the charges that I have because it has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not going to ask you anything else about that.
Okay.
Okay, so as far as making it go louder, like, so this is Law and Crime. This just seems to be how loud it is on their thing. It's also on 1.25. Do y'all want me to put it normal, or do you want me to still do it at 1.25? Yeah, I already immediately don't like this man. Like insane that you get that level. Yeah, so if you have ear things, this might be like a plug them in time. Because it's like I can hear it's quiet on my end too, and I have it as loud as I can on my thing. Yeah, Law and Crimes, okay, keep it fast. Okay, cool. Their voice is kind of, or their sound is, it's weird at times. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna turn my volume down.
I want to know how you know Benjamin Ben Michael.
I would call him Z.
Okay.
And I call Chloe Alexis Driver Kawani. Those are
Alright.
the names of which they were introduced to me as.
Okay.
So just to relieve confusion for the court and for the jury.
Yeah, I don't know if I can make it through all this. I might have to just leave the damn volume unmuted. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Oh, colors. I cannot. I literally want to come through the screen just to clear up any confusion for everybody. Seriously? Oh my God. I literally just want to come to the screen at this guy. Okay, here we go. I might just have to leave it on mute. I mean, I'm sorry. Let's just keep going.
These are the names that I still call these people by.
Okay.
So I just want to make that very clear so there's no confusion. And maybe I just want to make that very clear. So Z, I met Z in April of 2020 through an associate. And we met because of an interest in trust law and using trusts to legally incorporate yourself to minimize risk of obstruction by the government.
Is Daryl Brooks in the room? Is Daryl Brooks in the room? Oh, I can't. I don't know. I didn't know that this, y'all. Oh God. Okay. Let me reframe. Let me change my mindset around. I'm all in depressing, sad, which it still is, but this is completely gone off the rails. Okay. Completely off the rails over here. I'm here for it, but on that level, but this is insane. Okay.
Like in the forms of taxes and being able to hold your properties and assets in a trust and making them safer And there's a whole lot to that. So, I mean, how much would you like for me to talk about that? That's just the nature of how I met him.
Okay, and that's great, and I'll just keep asking small questions till we get to all the information that we need.
Sure.
You said that you had the interest in the trust law, but how did you actually come to know him? How did you forge that connection? Did you meet him
Well,
somewhere in particular?
What do you mean? Like,
How did you come to know he exists?
Through Peggy Schindler,
Okay, so you
Yeah.
met him through a mutual contact?
a mutual friend.
Okay.
Yes.
Um,
I saw Peggy in Whole Foods,
Okay.
and she was telling me about the trust.
Okay.
But she perhaps doesn't have the vernacular or the capacity to explain it.
I met her on Whole Foods and she told me about the trust next. Yeah, we met on aisle 5 next to the free range toothpaste, and she was telling me about it. But she's really stupid. She doesn't have the correct vocabulary to talk about such sophisticated things as this. This guy loves himself, y'all. This guy loves himself, y'all. I mean, loves himself. Okay, let's keep going. I can't.
And so and Z does, so I spoke with Z, and and then Peggy gave me the trust, and I began a relationship with Z from there.
Okay, and you said that was April of 2020?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and so going forward for the rest of this questioning, I'm going to refer to Benjamin
Yeah,
as Z.
that'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah, to
that
avoid
will-
confusion for everyone.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
Chloe will refer to as Kuwani?
Kuwani, yes.
That's how you,
Kuwani, Ku'Ani. You're welcome.
and is that how you were introduced to them?
He absolutely hates women. Absolutely hates women. You can see it in his demeanor, the way he talks to her, the way he speaks of them. He absolutely detests women and looks at them as just way beneath him. Way beneath him. That's why he's looking at her like a peasant. You can just feel it coming off of him. Okay, let's keep going.
Yes.
Okay, and is that how you knew them through the entirety of your relationship and still with
Yes.
them? Okay. So in April of 2020, when you met Z,
Yes.
Was that an in-person meeting when you first encountered
Yeah,
him?
it was.
Okay, and where physically were you?
In a park. We met in a park in South Asheville.
Okay, in North Carolina?
In North Carolina, yes.
Was he living there or staying there at that time?
Yeah, he was staying with Peggy.
Okay, and when you met him, did you become aware of his relationship status?
Yeah.
Okay, and what did you learn about his relationship status?
That he has 4 wives, actually,
Okay.
and that he practices polygamy.
Okay,
Is that the question? Is that the answer you were looking for?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Sure.
At that time, were you in a relationship?
Yes, I was.
And did you exercise any type of polygamy?
No.
Okay, and so, when you initially met him, did you come to know his wives?
Not initially, but we did later. I believe I met Kuwani briefly in May, but we really spent some time together in late May
Okay.
when I went down to Florida to visit them with the girl that I was with at the time.
Okay, so you had a girlfriend at the time?
I wouldn't call her my girlfriend, but she was living with me, and I mean, I guess you could say that I have always believed in plurality as well. That men should have multiple women, but I was never in a committed. I mean, I was with Jen; she lived with me.
Okay.
She 100% thought that she was his girlfriend. Look at this doofus. Number one, should be so lucky that someone was living with him, right? 100% she thought she was his girlfriend. Okay, we already know this, right? I cannot with this guy. Already, I can tell you, I'm just going to have to make one solid, separate video on just this dude. Period. We're not even 3 minutes in. Not even 3 minutes in.
And I took care of her. I provided her. She didn't work, so I provided her with food and shelter and safety and companionship and love. But it was never in our agreement that I wasn't allowed to see other women.
Okay.
So
And as it relates to Z and his relationship, who were his wives that you came to know?
So their given names on their birth certificates would be Chloe Alexis Driver, Jessica Lee Kafijian, and Sarah Stiles.
Okay.
But those women will be referred to as Kuwani and Anna Gamliana and Shaylee, respectively, because those are their chosen Hebrew names.
Okay. Tell me about Jessica.
Y'all, Let's just keep going. You already know. I don't have to say anything.
Okay, you said, what does she go by as her chosen?
Gamiana.
Gamliana?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
Gamiliana, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look at it.
Okay.
Gamiana, yes.
And then you all called her Gami?
Gami or Anna, she prefers now.
Okay.
Because she says that people have a hard time pronouncing Gami and they question her, so she goes by Anna now.
Gami or Anna? Okay.
Yes.
And is that a decision that she made to change that from Gami to Anna?
Yes.
Okay. Because of her-
Like I said, she says that when she introduces herself as Gami, people say, what? God. And so she just goes by Anna now.
Okay. And then Sarah is the legal name. What?
Shayleigh.
Shayleigh?
Shayleigh,
How do you spell it?
Sheilig. It's a Hebrew word.
Shayleigh?
Shayleigh, it's a
Okay.
Hebrew word, yes.
All right. So, when did you meet Kawani, Gami, and Shayleigh?
Like I would say, I think I actually met Kawani and Gami in May before they left, like briefly at Peggy's house.
Before they left North Carolina?
They left North Carolina to go to Florida, but I can't remember. It seems like I did. So you're asking me, this is like 5 years ago almost. So, whether I met them before I went to Florida, I can't remember. It feels like I did, but that's kind of irrelevant because we went to Florida, Jennifer and I, this girl that I was with at the time,
Okay.
we went to Florida to visit them and stay with them.
All right. Do you know when that was that you went to Florida to visit and stay with Z? And
It was after Kwani's birthday, which is the 18th,
okay, tell me when Kawani's birthday is. 18th of what?
May.
Okay.
Um,
So after May 18th of 2020, you and Michelle,
Jennifer.
sorry, Jennifer,
Yes.
you and Jennifer went to Florida.
Yes, we did.
And did you stay with Z and Gami?
No, we stayed in our van.
You stayed in your van. Okay.
Yeah, but we spent all of our time with them though. Like they were.
Of course. I'm not trying to say anything, but it's the cliches of this. Look at where it paused. Look at where it paused. I need to hold on, y'all. I gotta save that picture. Hold on. Oh, I'll do it later. Hold on. Wait, 50, 40. They literally are writing themselves with this dude, y'all. I've never disliked someone this hardcore so quickly, right? The condescending tone in his voice is insane. He's loving every second of being up there. He's trying to pretend like he doesn't. He absolutely loves every second of this. Absolutely loves it. Y'all remember what's that girl's name who killed the guy in the back seat? Ezra. Remember? His name was Jason. Bless his heart. He got on the stand. The guy she was in love with. That Jason was way more likable, but this kind of like condescending tone was present there too, right? Okay, let's keep going.
They were staying in a motel at the time
Okay.
in Nokomis Beach.
Where?
Nokomis Beach,
Where's
Florida.
that?
It's by Venice. It's like south of Sarasota.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that when you first met them, they were in North Carolina, and then they went to Florida, that they were staying in hotels. For the duration of your relationship with them, was that routine for them to kind of move around or travel or stay in different places?
Yeah, they were moving around a lot of the time.
Okay.
From what I understood, but they had been in, I can't recall what they were doing before that, but they stayed in Florida and then they went to Connecticut and they would stay in different places for like months at a time. I know that they stayed in Florida for months. After we left Florida, they stayed there for at least another month, I think.
Okay.
And they would stay in one place, like a singular location for a few months, and then they would go to the next location wherever they decided to go. I know that Kawani and Z had been in Myrtle Beach together for a pretty extended amount of time in Virginia Beach. That's where they met Gamliana. So they stayed in these places for extended periods of time.
Okay. So you're aware of Florida, North Carolina, Connecticut, Virginia,
Yes.
anywhere else?
Gosh, I don't know.
Did they ever spend time in Tennessee?
I don't think any extended time. I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
So-
And so you indicated sometime in May of 2020, you went down to Florida and spent a lot of time with them?
Yes.
Okay.
We spent a week down there.
A week?
Yeah, about
Was
a
that
week.
the first time you saw Benjamin with all three of the women?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you first met him and learned that he had three wives, sort of what was your thought process on that arrangement or
I
situation?
thought that was really interesting because usually you only see that with like religious cults like Mormonism, even though scripturally even old.
It's like he almost got it. He was almost there.
Jewish and Christian tradition promotes plurality. Like it's promoted in Scripture that men have multiple wives. Like it's written about all through the Bible, but you don't really see it that much anymore. Perhaps in Mormonism only. And I had spoken with Z extensively about what was happening with his like his wives in this situation, and I found it pretty interesting because he was providing care, all of the things that a man is supposed to provide for a woman. Like I said, and it was kind of like something that I was interested in because, you know, like I said with Jen, I provided Jen with food, a place to shelter. She didn't work. She
Heating up some damn beanie weenies in the van down by the damn river, talking about I provided food and shelter. Talking about this Benjamin dude, he provided them everything. She's running out of the damn house in the oncoming traffic trying to get away, but okay, got it. Okay, yeah, I'm just like, the only thing that is attracted to him about this is the power and control over the women because he absolutely hates them. That is the only thing, but he would never say that because he probably can't like think that himself. You know what I'm saying? That's all that is. Power and control. Yeah, this is down by the river. Yeah, controlling care. I mean, this literally. This guy is disgusting. And if he is looking up to Benjamin, how horrible is he? Okay, if this is the Timu version, what are we dealing with the other dude? Okay, let's keep going.
I provided her with companionship and love, and I listened to her, and I was affectionate.
I can't.
I was never in a committed relationship, but it's like the value of having a wife is profound. You know, like the value of having that intimacy that perhaps couldn't be achieved through a non-marital relationship. And so Z had basically taken what I found to be what I wanted in life was plurality, but also incorporating the deep intimacy of marriage with multiple women. And I thought that was highly interesting, and I was very curious to see how that played out and how that worked. And so was Jennifer. Honestly, you know, she's like, whoa, you know, like multiple wives, really, wow, like, you know, we like that's different. Like we should totally go hang out with him, you know. So we did. So we went to Florida.
Does Jennifer play, for somebody who watched, did Jennifer get on the stand? Do we hear from Jennifer? I need to hear from her mouth that she was completely aware that she was not in a committed relationship with this loser, totally happy with him, and skipping to go meet the dude with plural wives.
Sorry, I'm gonna adjust myself.
You're fine.
My niece.
And you said you were kind of interested to see how it played out.
No,
from
okay.
the-
Basically, like we're talking about like the social dynamic
Sure.
of a circumstance like that, which I think is really like where most people go with that. When they hear about polygamy, most individuals will question the social dynamic of such relationship and how does that work? Like, what is the social dynamic between the women and the social dynamic between the women and the women and the men? I mean, you can see these types of shows. There's shows on television now that promote polygamy and
Like Sister Wives?
like Sister Wives. Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of like to see a firsthand perspective of that, of somebody who's really living like that. I thought was highly interesting. I was very interested in what these women had to say and what they were about.
Okay.
So was Jennifer.
Tell me, you said you're interested to hear what the women had to say and what they
Yeah,
were
well, yeah, I was just curious how they interacted with each other.
Okay.
You know, so.
From May of 2020, when you said that you and Jennifer went to Florida and started spending time with them, how
That's
much
right.
time did you spend with Z and the three women from May until December of 2020?
Oh, well, there was a lot. I mean, so I went to go see them in May, and then I broke off with Jennifer over the summer. So she actually never saw them again.
Okay.
And then I stayed in Connecticut at Z's parents' house at the Joyce home in Connecticut in September for, I think I was there for about a little over 2 weeks.
Tell me about his parents. What do you know about them?
Oh, I love the Joyces. They're good. Mike Joyce is great. He's a good man. You know, they're essentially Michelle Joyce is they're very powerful people. Like even they're like really intelligent. They're highly intelligent people, highly well spoken about their traditions and values, and they're very warm and open and welcoming folks. Like,
Are they, his biological parents, still married?
yes.
Do you know what they do for a living?
Michelle sells real estate, and Mike works at a factory.
Works at a factory?
It's like a machine shop.
Okay. So you said you went to Connecticut and you stayed at his parents' house?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And how much time did you spend at his parents' house?
Like I said, I was there for a little over 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. Was he there with the 3 women as well?
Kawani and Gamiana were staying there, and Shayla was there sometimes, but her parents also live in Connecticut, so she was at her parents' some too.
Okay, so Shayla's parents are from Connecticut as well?
Yeah, they live like, I don't know, it's like 45 minutes down the road in Southbury.
Okay, so Gami and Kawani and Z and you spent time at his
Yeah,
parents' house?
we sure did.
While Shayla spent time with her family?
Yeah, I was sleeping in my van. Again, I had a van
Okay.
that I stayed in.
Okay.
And so I was sleeping in the driveway in the van.
And was it, from your observations, was it common for these women to go spend time with their families outside of their relationship with Z?
I mean, if they wanted to.
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, I didn't really get the feeling that Kawani or Galiana were very, like, you know, enthusiastic about going to spend time with their parents.
Okay.
I can't with the names. I cannot with the names. And it makes it even worse that he's saying it.
And that they love their husband and they stayed with him.
Okay, but Shayla wanted to go see her family in Connecticut?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just like a matter of convenience too, because they're all like staying at the house and, you know, she went back and forth, you
Okay.
know, so.
Did you ever meet the parents of Shayla, Gami, or
I've met all these people.
Kawani?
I've met them all.
You met all of their parents?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Tell me the circumstances under which you went into their families' homes.
Let's see. I met Phil and Nancy Kafijian in October of 2020. I have actually stayed with Ben and Sharon Stiles at their home in Connecticut. I stayed there for the better part of a month.
At Shayla's parents?
At Shayla's parents, yes, I sure did. And I've met Eric and Renee Driver on several occasions. I met them for the first time in the summer of 2020. I met Kawani and Z and Eric and Renee Driver at a river in Tennessee, and we spent the day together.
Okay.
That was the first time I met
So
them.
Phil and Nancy Kafijian are
Jessica's parents,
Jessica or
Gamliana.
Gamliana's
Yeah, I
parents,
didn't
okay.
try to avoid confusion.
Where do they live?
They live in Virginia Beach.
In Virginia Beach, okay.
Yeah,
And then you said that Shayla's parents live in Connecticut.
yes, they do in
And do
Southbury.
you know where Eric and Renee Driver, Kawani's parents, live?
In Knoxville, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I've never been to their house, so,
All right.
but I know that she's from Jacksonville originally, but I think they moved
Okay.
to Knoxville.
Okay. And do you know what the order of the women coming into this marriage was? Like
Yes.
who was first?
Yeah, it was Kawani first.
Okay. Do you know how long she had been with Z? Like as of 2020 when you met him, how long they've been together?
Gosh, you know, I don't know the answer to that question. Years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who came next?
Jessica Gamliana.
Okay. And how long had she been with him?
I think like Kawani and Z had been together since she was like right when she was 18, and then they met Gami a few months later.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know the answer to these questions
Okay.
exactly.
If you don't know, then
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'm
but
just
if you
like
know-
Right, when
telling
she
you,
was
like,
18.
It's kind of like I haven't really considered that. I haven't, you know. I'm sure I was told at some point that I'm in Galilee. You know,
And from your understanding, who was the last woman to kind of enter the picture?
Shayla.
Shayla.
Yes.
And when you met them, do you have any idea how long Shayla had been in a relationship with Z?
I'm gonna guess like 6 months or something like that.
Okay, so pretty recent.
Yeah, within a year. It had been within a year.
Okay. Do you still have a relationship with Z?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you know
Of
whether
course.
Shayla and Gami are still with him?
Yes, they are.
They are.
They are very much still with him.
Okay. All right. So when we were talking about the sort of the social dynamic of polygamy and sort of your interest in that when you met Z,
Yes.
what did you observe about sort of his treatment of the women or their interaction and treatment toward him? Like what was that?
I
from your
observed a
perspective?
very beautiful, healthy relationship.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
All like they would wake up every morning and talk about feelings, you know, which I thought was really cute.
Talk
And
about feelings?
feelings.
Oh, feelings, okay.
Like they would wake up every morning. They would be in the hotel, and Z would wake up with these girls, and you know they'd all wake up and sit around and talk about feelings and how they felt that day and why they were feeling that way. And he would sit and be patient and kind and caring with them, and treat them the way a wife should be treated, with compassion and patience and love. And even Jennifer and I, we both observed this. I was actually a little surprised at the amount, like the absence of like petty argument and jealousy you know, because you have to kind of expect that. That's what Jen said too. Like we were like, wow, this is really like they really have a healthy thing here. That they're all interacting with each other. They all share the same type of.
Like, okay, so you know how you meet people like this where it's like everything is super complicated, right? So it's almost like pretend like this is right here in the morning time where I go get this bottle of water and put it here, and it's like, Paul, you placed that water bottle down a little bit hard and it made googly boogly over here, or Jessica, whatever her name is, a little upset. Let's talk. What's going on in there, Paul? Let's pull back the layers and go into this a little bit. Let's make some Folgers House coffee and really get into these feelings. And it's like, I'm just trying to go to work. Just trying to put some damn food on the table. You glad y'all got time to do all that? What are you talking about? What are you? This is how much time do these people have in their hands? And okay, people like this too. The things that he's saying, it's opposite, right? I was surprised how little, drama and pettiness there was. There was tons of drama and bickering. I can 100% tell you from that statement, it was a bad vibe, right? Do we hear from, for people who have watched the trial, do we hear from anyone besides Chloe who live in this doofus, who saw this situation and can testify? Because I don't believe a word he was saying. A word of it, right? I, I had no idea that this was like, I would have been glued. Well, I mean, life's been crazy. I would have been glued to this, y'all. Glued. Okay, let's keep going. Another wife testifies. Oh my God. Are you serious? Okay, let's keep going.
Value for humanness, that like there's a real value here that you don't see in a lot of individuals. Like most people act solely in self-interest, and that's not what you saw with these girls and their man. And it was really sweet, actually. Like Z was always he was being very kind to them, and they all got along. Like I didn't, we stayed there for over a week in the van, and we didn't see any bickering, and we were with them all day, every day, like this whole time.
And that was the week you spent with them in Florida in May of 2020?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
When you left Florida, I asked you sort of the broad question of how much time you spent with them between May of 2020 and December of 2020.
Sure.
But after that week in May, when did you later spend chunks of time with them and where?
Well, like I said, I met up with Z and Kawani and her parents at a river in Tennessee.
Do you know when that was?
Gosh, sometime in the summer of 2020. I actually cannot remember exactly when that was.
Okay.
And then I stayed with Z. I stayed in his parents' driveway for a few weeks in September. Then I went back home, and then I came to.
He stayed in that driveway, just providing like a man does. This is what just blows my mind. Not even his own driveway. His whatever's parents' house's driveway. They probably had to tell him to leave. They probably had to take a damn broom out there and scat him away like a damn cat. I mean, honestly. I cannot. Y'all, I cannot.
Virginia Beach in the middle of October, and I stayed there for about 3 weeks with Z and Kawani, and Gamliana too. Sarah Shalig was in Connecticut at that time with her parents.
Okay, so in October, you spent 3 weeks in Virginia. Shayla was with her parents.
That's right.
And Kuwani and Gami and you and Z were together in Virginia?
That's right.
Okay. I want to get signed back into this computer.
Yes, Tori. Oh my God, completely.
I want to show you, may I first witness? Let me show you what Marks and States Exhibit 84. Do you recognize who this person is?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Gami.
Okay. Does this accurately reflect the person you know?
That
Are you
is
referring to
that
Gami?
is Jessica Fejan Gamliana, who prefers to be called Anna now. And I told her the name change is a little difficult for me.
I'm reading y'all's comments.
States 84.
States 84 is admitted.
Permission to publish?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You can tell he's evil. You can tell he's just
So this
evil.
is
That
Gami.
is Jessica Fejan Gamliana.
Okay. Do you know how old she is compared to Kawani?
Jessica's birthday is June 3rd, 1988.
June 3rd, 1988?
That's right.
Okay, so she's older. And this is Exhibit 85. Do you know who this is?
Yeah, that's Shaylee. That's Sarah Stiles.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor, I would tender state 85.
It's admitted.
And this is, how old is she?
Shaylee was born February the 8th, 1997.
February 8th, 1997. How do you know all these women's birthdays? Is that something that's
I have a
important?
partially photogenic memory.
Okay. Would that be information?
Literally was just wondering this question. How does he know? That's creepy as hell. You know he memorized their socials and all that stuff. Okay, I have a partially photographic memory. I can't. It literally, it's like, yo, this is not even real. This is not even real. You know, like, however he memorizes this stuff, like, he has all of their personal information, like, the ones that have it completely memorized.
That you seek out about people that you care about, or that
No,
you,
I don't even try to remember.
okay, you just remember it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the nature of my mind.
Are these two pictures the scene that you remember of December the 8th of 2020, being at that residence?
Oh my gosh, that is the inside of Jerry's house, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, I don't know the inside. I was gonna say, because I see the picture of Shaylee there, and I'm like, wow, that's really messy. Like, because they never kept a messy place, you know. But Jerry does.
Okay.
So
She called him.
I see that there. That is the inside, because like you see all the dirt and like it's kind of nasty looking. I was just like, where was this picture taken? Like, because they do
She's
not keep
laughing.
an unclean house like that.
Okay.
You know, so, but Jerry definitely does. Jerry's kind of a slob, self-admittedly on his part. So I'm not trying to
Okay.
kill him with that.
All
so.
right. Tell me a little bit about that. You said that they keep a clean environment. In terms of sort of the dynamics of the group when you were with them, did they have any viewpoints about like diet or like health in terms of?
Oh yes, very much. That's like part of the way that they live. And it's part of the way that I live too.
Okay. And what were sort of
He
the
can't wait to
like
talk
the-
about it.
Yes, very much. And that's one of the things that that I liked about Z immediately was that.
You know, you might as well have gone up there and been like, what CrossFit place do you go to? He's jumping over himself now. Can't wait to talk about it.
The way that he cared for himself and the way that he cared for his women.
What do you mean by that?
First of all, like there's like a standard of purity. You know, I've been on and off vegetarian for most of my life. I met them and they're vegans.
Okay.
They eat no processed sugar. They eat extremely healthy, like no vegan. And the reason why they don't eat animal products is because of the inhumane treatment of animals. You know, so it's like it's viewed as like an innocent life. So you have an innocent life in this animal, and Z feels that we are not entitled to take that life. And that was actually something that I picked up from Z, because before I had just been a vegetarian for my own health purposes. But then he told me about his reasoning for veganism, and I agree with him. You know, it's like one of the things that I met Z when I went down to visit them in Florida. I hadn't been a vegetarian for a very long time, like 2 years. It had been 2 years that I've been on a meat eating diet, and I got back around them, and I was influenced in a positive way, I would say, by being around them and being around their health again. And so I immediately went back to vegetarianism, and I've been a vegetarian ever since.
Okay.
Back to my routine. And Jen did it with me too,
Okay.
for the remaining time that she was with me.
All right.
Of
We immediately
course.
switched back to vegetarianism.
Did she have a
Everybody,
choice?
during the time you spent with him between May of 2020 and beyond, was everybody a strict vegan?
Yes.
Okay.
And they also used like no drugs or alcohol whatsoever,
Okay.
which
And
is
what was the reason for that?
because it's like toxic.
Couldn't afford it.
And because it's, like, it dilutes
Couldn't
your
afford
mind,
it.
and your ability to process and be your most pure self. Yeah.
Were there any viewpoints surrounding like water, or what kind of water they could consume?
What do you mean?
Just do they have any rules about what water they drink?
I don't know that I can speak to that specifically. I mean, I know that, but I will say that reverse osmosis water, I know that Z drinks reverse osmosis water And so do I. I've been filtering my water reverse osmosis for the past 20 years.
Okay.
Because, you'd like to get there's a lot of particulates in the water, especially, you get the water out of the sink, out of the tap here, it's full of chemicals and fluoride and chlorine and things that are heavy metals that are unhealthy for your brain and body.
Okay.
That should really be avoided at all costs by everyone. But like I said, very few individuals take the time to care for themselves at this level of impeccability. And so that's something that I respected about the.
He's saying that in an orange jumpsuit. Okay, I wonder how's that water in the cell, buddy? How's that water in the cell?
Very much, and attracted me to become closer and better friends with them.
Okay. From your perspective, was the observation of these practices something that was inherent in them or something that required discipline from them?
No, definitely not. Kawani was the one who was giving me a hard time about eating meat when I was in. She's the one who's she's like, you just don't care about the animals, do you? And I'm like, she's like, maybe you're just an asshole. And I was like, maybe I am.
She said maybe you were just an asshole?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're talking about
Kawani, the one who's sitting right there.
Okay.
And I said, maybe I am, and maybe I should stop eating meat because of this reason, not for my own health purposes.
Okay.
Because of the taking of life and because, it's better to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, maybe you're right, young lady, I see where you're coming from. And so I actually went back to vegetarianism then.
Was she expressive in communicating about sort of her belief system of subscribing to these practices?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like it was forced.
Okay.
It's pretty logical, really.
Okay.
It makes sense. It's this is impeccability. This is taking care of yourself in the highest regard. This is eliminating toxic waste from your body. This is living a life that's clean and pure without drugs and alcohol of any type, including caffeine.
Okay.
No nicotine, no alcohol of any type. They don't drink at all.
Okay.
So it's really rare to find that level of commitment of care to yourself. And all of these girls were just on board with it. They were like, of course they are, because it makes sense and you feel better and you feel healthier and you're representing something that is separate from the regular world of toxicity and negligence to one's own well-being.
Okay. You mentioned that during I've used kind of December of 2020 as a date just because of the incident that we're here for, but
Yeah, we'll get there.
how long did you spend time with the group even beyond that date?
Oh gosh, I'm still friends with Z now. I was in Shayla's parents' house for a month in March of earlier this year.
Okay. So for the last 4 years, you've maintained constant communication and contact
Most
and friendship
definitely,
with them? Okay.
most definitely, and we've all been very hurt by this, and we've worked through this together and as the best we can.
All right. So you mentioned that they didn't consume any drugs or alcohol. Are you referring to sort of illicit drugs or just all drugs? What do you mean by the term drugs?
Anything that is psychotropic in nature.
Okay.
Anything that's no pharmaceuticals, no alcohol, no drugs of any kind.
Okay.
What do you mean? What drugs are there?
I guess what I'm going to get into is sort of modern medicine or treatment of ailments or healing practices. Did they have sort of didn't adopt the traditional worldview of the exercise of medicine?
Yeah, none of these girls really had very many ailments.
Okay.
So,
These
I know
girls.
ibuprofen.
Sure.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah. I prescribe to these systems myself. I don't
Okay.
take those kind of drugs either.
All right. And was the whole group sort of like-minded in that way?
They're all for it, yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So were there sort of healing practices or things that you all did for your bodies that were not traditional?
I mean, like what?
Like drinking your own urine?
Sure.
Let's talk about the
I've been
PP.
doing daily for 4 years.
Okay. And can you tell me, obviously that's not traditional in a broad.
Well, it was in the past when people understood their bodies.
Okay.
Now we've become so deranged and deluded and essentially live in a psychotic society of mental illness and addiction to pharmaceuticals and alcohol and toxic food that we have become so deluded and separate from what it means to be healthy on the deepest and most fundamental cellular levels that we would describe an attempt to achieve homeostasis in the body.
So basically what he's saying is he was drinking his pee-pee until his cellmate kicked his butt. Okay, that's what happened. He gave up that real quick when he got his ass kicked in jail for doing that. 100% that's what went down, right? he'll return to the tap when he gets out. Okay, but for now we put that belief system on hold, right? We put that on hold. Okay, it didn't go quite well in the cell. Okay, let's keep
Yeah,
going.
so urine therapy is non-traditional in today's modern terms of, our deranged society, toxic society. But it's actually written about by medical doctors. It's written about by people all over the world. There's like, I mean, if you go online and look up urine therapy, there's like 15 books available written by allopathic medicine doctors, homeopathic medicine doctors, written by shamans and gurus from the East, written about by regular everyday people who have healed themselves, who claim to have healed themselves of things such as cancer by drinking their urine.
Okay.
And it tells all about, if you want to do your research, urine is from the word orin, meaning light. And basically it's like when you go to an oncologist.
Now, side note, y'all, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the defense questioning him? Because remember how I think in the States opening, they were like, look, there's going to be lots of distractions and this, that, and the other. Like, think about whatever tactic, whatever's going on here, we've strayed so far away from what's at hand of Hannah losing her life in the manner that she did. I can understand if they're trying to show this context of, especially the state or whatever, this is what was going on, or even the defense like this, because this is insanity. This is giving us a peek into this, but I get what they're saying because I'm like, oh, this is an absolute distraction. I'm like, oh, wait a second, this is what the trial's about. We're over here talking about drinking urine, talking about living in the van down by the river, talking about this dude is next level.
And they take a urine sample instead of a blood sample. That's because the urine is more telling.
It's a prosecution
in your body. And so allopathic, homeopathic, and people from all types of different natures write about, the photonic realignment of your DNA through urine therapy. So urine has like discarded nutrients in it, but those nutrients have passed through your kidney and bladder and are now contained within orin, the light production of your body. And it needs to be understood that this is just like very common programming in the world, that urine is waste, and it's literally an antiseptic. It's the opposite of waste. Your stool is your waste. Your urine is an antiseptic. It's a true sterilant, and it's antibacterial. That's why Boy Scouts 101, when you have an injury or you have a snake bite or a jellyfish sting or something like that, and you use your urine to.
I can't believe he's a state witness.
And to act.
I can't believe it.
And act as an antibacterial immediately on open wounds in the flesh. So you could think about this as like the same type of things happening inside of your body. We're talking about like antibacterial,
How long have you been engaging in that practice as like a, do you consider it a healing practice or like a health routine?
Well, to me, it was a healing practice at first. And I would say that the first year, it took me probably like 6 months to a year. But actually, I would say maybe a little less than that. I think for some individuals, they would probably, that would be a healing practice for at least a year. But I was considerably healthier and more fit than the average individual.
Okay.
Like I said, I've been filtering my water, all the fluoride and chlorine out of my water for like 20 years.
He looks incredibly fit and healthy.
I started these practices very young. I just realized that, it's like, would you like to have toxic waste and heavy metals in your water, or should we filter these out? I mean, it doesn't really take a genius to figure this out. Like, we should be taking these steps to heal ourselves and and not only heal ourselves, but as a health practice. So I'd say, like, for the average individual, I think their first year of urine therapy would be more of like a healing, but I use it to maintain.
They preyed on these poor girls and women, and then literally just berated them with this nonsense into submission. They probably had to go along with this stuff just to shut them up. Okay, just to imagine this conversation over your morning coffee. Literally, it's what they went through 24 hours a day.
My body still to this day.
And did you start your therapy practice before you met Z?
No, actually, but I didn't learn about it from Z. I learned about it from Peggy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I started drinking my urine, and after about a month, I was Z never even mentioned that.
Okay.
But after I'd been drinking my urine for about a month or something, I was like mentioning it to Z, and he's like, oh yeah, yeah, we do that too.
Okay.
So I actually know a couple dozen individuals who drink their urine regularly.
A couple dozen? Okay.
Yeah, sure do.
And as far as Z and Kuwani and Shalig and Gami, did they all participate in urine therapy also?
As far as I know.
Okay. Did you ever know of anybody forced to participate in that practice?
No, I didn't, actually. All the individuals that I've met, or it's kind of like one of those things that's like, oh, I didn't even know about that. Like, I didn't know until Peggy told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing my research online, and it turns out there's a lot more people that do it than, like, there's this guy who I really respect online. His name's Troy Casey. He's the certified health nut. He's like an influencer on Instagram. And so he and like several other individuals, they really promote like urine therapy. They do it all the time. You know, so it's like, it's a little more mainstream than.
He's going. He's a certified health professional. He's an influencer on Instagram. I cannot. Oh my God! Social media is the downfall. It is the downfall. Okay. Period. Oh my God.
You know, you would think, and unless you know about it, and then you hear about it, and it's like, oh, this is a lot more mainstream than I thought.
You already kind of just spoke about the sort of group's collective views on medicine, or traditional medicine.
Sure.
Were there any other types of healing practices to either like center themselves or strengthen their mind or their body that you were aware of?
Gosh, I mean, I personally use all kinds of, like, I use Reich machines. I've watched people have miraculous healings from Reich machines.
And what is that?
A Reich machine is
I'm
a
scared to ask.
generator developed by Royal Raymond Reich in the early 1930s at the University of San Diego, Southern California. And this man found that, and you can do your research on this, anybody who's interested, this man found that when exposed to certain, that everything has a frequency and vibration, because that's the nature of reality. It's just an atomic structure. And so to understand the fundamentals of science, which we're all taught in school, but it just doesn't seem to sink in to a lot of people, you know, that everything we're experiencing right now, the air is mostly nitrogen and the matter is it's mostly carbon. So we have a atomic pixelated holograph reality, and these things have been written about from, you know, the 1927 Solvay Convention in Physics and beyond, even to Michael Talbot and Carl Sagan, who write about the nature of reality. And so everything has a frequency and vibration, including illnesses inside of the body.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I have to scroll ahead just to see. Oh, y'all, he goes on forever. Yeah, I don't know if we can watch this whole thing with him right now. Oh, this goes on for a while. Oh, y'all. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this up a little bit because I got to get, like, wind stuff down here in a little bit. We'll go for a few more minutes and I'm going to timestamp it so we can watch the next one maybe tomorrow night. This goes on for a while and I can't. The only person he should be bunking with is someone like Susan Smith. Susan, or who we just do? What's her name again? Sarah Bone. This is crazy, and this goes on for this long. Of course, it goes on for this long. I can't. I cannot. I mean, we're over here talking about the machine. Okay, let's keep going for a minute. He's absolutely off his rocker. Okay, he is absolutely off his rocker. Obviously, this is allegedly. I don't know this man. I'm not a doctor, any of these things. Look at his eyes, the dead eyes. There's nothing behind them.
And so this man, Royal Raymond Reich, was able to find that these illnesses, specifically tumors and things like MS and certain other illnesses, have a certain vibrational frequency, and when exposed to certain frequencies, now we're talking about particles and waves, which is, you know, another foundational cornerstone of science, of the understanding of science, quantum physics, and reality. When you have the particulate matter of a tumor inside of your body, it may be exposed to the wavelengths of certain frequency vibrations, and it destroys tumors. I've watched some pretty miraculous healings. People being on their deathbed to walking around cancer-free.
Were those things that?
No, that's just me.
Okay.
You know, I'm just introducing this to, you know, to the world.
Okay.
Here, right now. I'm live
Let me
on-
ask you about, and I mean, I've got to just keep
But
it.
Z knows about frequency. Z knows about Reich machines too.
Okay.
You know, so I'm just curious, like, which ones?
Let me ask a more direct question.
Yeah, please.
Are you aware of them using any type of sensory deprivation or dark therapy?
Dark therapy, yeah, from the teachings of Montauk Chia.
Okay, can you
Absolutely.
tell me about that?
Okay, so I did dark therapy in September of 2020. I actually did it after I left Connecticut. I had like a small bungalow style house, and so I taped off the the bedroom and the bathroom, and I blacked out all the windows, and I retreated into into a meditative place for 432 hours.
Okay. And was meditation or sensory deprivation or dark therapy, was that something that Z?
If he'd only done 434, he might have been fixed, but he missed those last 2 hours in the oven.
And the three women also subscribed to and participated?
Z did dark therapy like 10 years ago.
Okay.
You know, he did dark therapy, but at the time when I met them, none of the women had done dark therapy.
Okay.
Gamiana was the first one to do it.
I'm
and
sure
she
they were
did it
just
at
dying
my
to.
house in November of 2020.
Okay.
Like,
And
she was the only one to have done that at that point.
what brought about her doing that? Did she want to do that, or was she made to do that?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
Like,
so.
he never made them do anything like that. Like,
Okay.
I mean, it's like they volunteered because they're interested in the same type of achievement. I know Shaylee did the dark therapy for a very long time.
Okay.
She went into the dark for like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's
All this therapy, all this health stuff, yet here we are in this exact scenario.
will speak highly of it, but she was seeking that. She was seeking, I mean, Z didn't say, go be in the dark, it's like, that's not the thing,
And in practice of dark therapy or sensory deprivation, do you come out of it whenever you feel ready, or is it something that like you're locked in even if you don't want to do
I mean,
it?
no, what you're asking is like a personal question about the individual who's embarking on their quest for enlightenment. So you're asking me to, speak to the nature of another individual's personal. I set a time. I was like, I'm going in for 432 hours, and then that time is up. I came out.
Okay. And from your observations of the rest of the group, was that personal to them? Did they make choices about whether they wanted to do it and how long they wanted to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
But it's also, the kind of, it's like, as I was raised in my household, and I know that this culture and society.
The only reason he did 432 hours is because something was popping off at the time where his girlfriend, whatever he wants to call her, was talking about, look, you got to go get a job. Okay, we got bills to pay. We got food to put on the table. And he invented the dark therapy then. Liz, I went to the portal. I came back. I heard the voices. The job's going to have to wait, babe. I'm going to need you to go out and do a fake PPP loan. I got to go up in this dark room for like 432 hours, okay? The gaslighting, too. The gaslighting that he's doing just on the stand. Just on the stand.
Society in the modern world has deviated a long way from traditional practice, but my father is the head of my house growing up, not my mother.
Okay.
We lived in a house where my dad set a standard, and that's what we lived by, and my mom was a wife, that, lived that, her dad, like, it's a patriarchal household,
So
and my mom was never oppressed, just like these girls were never oppressed.
So you subscribed in that way to more traditional gender roles?
Yeah, more
Okay.
traditional gender roles where the man is the head of the household.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And
But here's the thing. I don't know his parents. I'm not saying anything like that. Whatever. Look at this guy right here trying to talk about this, and that's fine. That's the way somebody wants to live, whatever. But I'm like, oh, honey, no. No. Okay. No. Here's the thing, too. Okay, I saw this girl's TikTok yesterday, and it was like one of those snippets from a podcast. And basically, she was saying real quick, like, if you want the traditional wife thing, then you need to do the traditional husband thing. And she was basically saying, if we're both getting up and going and killing each other or killing ourselves at a job all day long, don't ask me to do something you're not willing to do, right? This is what he probably would send her to work, still expect her to come home, wait on him while he's in the damn dark room. This guy is sickening. This guy is sickening. Okay, let's keep going for a few more minutes. Let's keep punishing ourselves for a few more minutes.
And Z is the head of his house.
Is that biblically based or what?
No, it's psychologically sound.
Okay.
It's like, men are better leaders. They're better decision makers. They can regulate their emotions in a way that women cannot. And they're just, they're better leaders.
Did you ever
So-
see that manifest itself in the mistreatment of
Absolutely not.
Shaylig, Gami?
I've already told you how sweet and kind he was to these women. But also at the same time, he sets a standard. If they wanted to go do drugs and alcohol, then leave. That was the thing. It's like they all lived this life with him by choice. This was not you have to live. It's like, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to live,
Look at her.
this is
Look
the
at
way I
her.
live my life now, and every woman that I've had in my life, in my entire life, has been this way, and the way that I live my life right now. When I'm free again, which shouldn't be too long, I will be, and any women that come into my life now will live the way that I live. We will be clean vegans. We will not use drugs and alcohol in any way. You will be treated with care and respect and love and kindness and listened to. I will appreciate and respect your feelings, just as Z is doing with his wives, just as I've always done with the women in my life. You know,
And
but when
if-
it comes to crucial decision making and setting the standard for the household, I am the head of the household.
Okay.
I just for some. Oh, look at. Where it falls. For some reason, I just don't think I trust his decision making skills when it comes to the household. I want to send this dude off to the damn Whole Foods to get me some vegan free toothpaste. I want to send him off for the vegan free toothpaste or the cage free toothpaste. I'm sorry. The free range lettuce, whatever the hell he's talking about. I wouldn't trust him. Tori, do you think if you're still here, do you think you could snap that one? He's just marching around that van like I wear the pants around this damn van. Lecturing them. I mean, yes, from the time they get up. No, it was all they were free choice. It was everybody could do what they wanted to. You know that they were finding vulnerable girls. Obviously, she was what 16. Vulnerable girls. The other one was like 30 something. Putting them in a position where they're dependent on them and then forcing them to do all this stuff. Now, I'm not trying to say they might not have had the same interest, probably so, and maybe somebody gets up on the stand and does this, but you saw Chloe over there giving him that look when he was like, oh no, they were this, that, and the other. I can already tell you, no. 100% no. Do not believe that 1 second. I should be getting out soon. I mean, I provide for the women. Yeah, I might have been calling her up asking for a 20 on the books, asking for a 20 on the ramen noodles, but that's right now. I just can't. That picture right there sums him up. Okay. That picture sums him up. You know he's calling Jennifer, tracking her down for 20 on the ramen. You know it. 100%, okay.
It's pretty simple.
And you said, if any of these women wanted to use drugs or alcohol, they could leave.
They can leave at any time.
Did you ever have any perception that they were not free to leave?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right, I want to talk to you about, now you said that you spent about 3 weeks in Virginia in October of 2020.
Okay, let's do this, y'all, because this sounds like a good pausing moment for this. We're gonna wind it down, but first of all, let me do this. First of all, let me take a picture of the timestamp. I can't, y'all. I had no idea. How did we miss this? We haven't even got. Hold on. At 5 hours, he's still on the stand. No. But again, well, it's a different day, it looks like. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Let me come over to y'all. Y'all. I cannot. This is so insane. This is so insane. He pees on the vegetables. I bet. Can you imagine? Imagine you're at Whole Foods, you're on the whatever aisle, and you're both looking at the same thing enough, how people want to start up a conversation. Imagine him. He's that person. I see you picking up the cage-free toothpaste. You know that's just a gimmick, that kind of stuff, right? We make our own toothpaste back at the van. So far, I mean, again, this is a horrifying sounding crime. Obviously, this poor little baby. We haven't gotten into any of the kind of stuff what the doctors say. I'm very curious to see what the verdict is. I'm very curious. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. It's horrible. I mean, I don't know. I'm in shock over here. I didn't know we were in for. I literally. I mean, and yeah. I've got to let this digest. So here's what we'll do. I mean, what a doofus. I didn't know that this was gonna be like rage bait. You know what I'm saying? Like this has me like pissed off, right? I mean, not in the way of like, oh my gosh, this poor little, I mean, obviously the poor little baby, but like this guy himself, I hate this person so much. It's really a strong word, but like he conjures up like really angry feelings in me. A better decision maker. Oh, the way he just, oh, the condescending thing from him. It's so gross. The way he speaks about the women, it's always the ones like this, right? Always the ones like this. Oh my God. Hey. Okay, now on a lighter note. Oh, and thank you. Hold on, let me make sure I saw this. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate it. And thank you, a werewolf. Okay, before we go, so what we'll do, y'all, is maybe tomorrow night we'll continue forth. Come here. Come here. Bo, we need a puppy palate cleanser. Bo's awake now. Let me get him out of his little nest. Say hey. Say hey, everybody. Did Daddy wake you up? Screaming at the TV. Say that's a common occurrence around here. Say hey, everybody. Say my brother is sleeping, and I'm enjoying not having my brother. Here, go play. Or do whatever you need to do. Okay, so y'all, that's it. We will continue on tomorrow. They might have a verdict tomorrow, but we're still gonna like dive in. I didn't know this was this like I'm changing my mind around about the video I'm gonna do because I might just literally do one of his testimony, and then do a different one for the thing. I have to see. Like I wasn't expecting this trial to be this over the top. So yeah. Okay, maybe I'll break it up into things because y'all know how I am. So to do a big video on this could take me months, which is really bad, y'all, but it is what it is. Right? So anyways, but we'll catch up. I'll put a post out tomorrow or something like that. So thank y'all very much for hanging out, for getting through this, whatever we just experienced. We'll trauma bond or something like that. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Tori, for being there, and keeping the sofa fluffed, the cushions going, all the fun stuff. So that's it. So y'all have a good evening. I do appreciate it. I love y'all to death. And we shall talk at some point tomorrow. I'll let you know what we're doing. And that's it. Have a good evening, everybody. Good